Welcome back to the Deep Dive. For all you aspiring CISSPs,
Oh, yeah,
today's deep dive is going to be your secret weapon.
absolutely.
We're tackling Domain 2,
Asset security.
asset security, and trust me,
It's a big one.
this isn't just about checking a box on your exam prep list.
Yep.
This is about understanding the core of how we protect
What matters?
what matters most in a digital world.
Absolutely. Think of this as learning how to guard the crown jewels.
Ooh, I like that.
We're not just talking about physical assets here,
Right.
but the data that drives organizations, their reputation, even their future.
Okay, so big stakes.
Big Stakes will decode data classification,
Oh, that sounds fun.
explore who owns what in this digital age,
Okay.
and yes, even the art of securely destroying things when the time is right.
Okay, before my head explodes with all that, let's start with the basics data classification.
Sure.
Help me understand why this isn't just some boring filing system.
Because a single leak of the wrong data can literally make or break an organization.
Really?
Imagine a hospital's patient database ending up on the dark web.
Whoa.
That's catastrophic.
Yeah.
That's why we have levels like top secret, confidential, and public.
Okay.
Each comes with its own level of risk and needs specific protection.
So there's like a threat level system for data.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Give me some real world examples so I can wrap my head around this.
Let's take those nuclear launch codes you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
In the military, that's a textbook top secret asset.
Right.
The potential damage from compromise is unthinkable.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, jump to a corporation.
Okay.
Their top secret might be the formula for a groundbreaking new
Correct.
product.
Oh, like Coca-Cola's secret recipe.
Exactly. Or the details of a pending merger.
Okay.
Leak that, and you could have financial chaos and lawsuits galore.
Okay, so top secret is all about preventing total meltdown.
Pretty much.
What about confidential? Is that where things get a bit less dramatic?
Not necessarily.
Really?
Think about employee salary information.
Okay, yeah.
A leak there could lead to legal issues, morale problems,
Right.
even impact a company's ability to attract talent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or in healthcare, imagine unauthorized access to patient treatment plans.
Oh, yeah.
Confidential doesn't mean low risk.
Right.
It means the impact is more localized, but can still be incredibly damaging.
All right, starting to see the nuances here.
Good.
So how does an organization actually go about deciding what goes where in this classification system?
Right.
Do they just throw darts at a board with labels?
Hopefully not.
Okay.
There's a real methodology to this.
Okay.
You have to consider the potential impact of a breach.
Got it.
Financial, reputational, legal,
Mm-hmm.
and even operational.
Right.
And you can't forget compliance requirements.
Yeah, of course.
Industries like healthcare with IPA or finance with SOX
Yeah.
have specific rules about how certain data must be handled and protected.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a puzzle where you're trying to match the right level of protection to the right type of data.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the role of asset ownership comes in.
Asset ownership.
Just like you'd have a deed for your house.
Okay.
You need clear lines of responsibility for who controls and protects different types of data.
Okay, so it's not enough to just slap a label on it.
Nope.
Someone has to be in charge.
Absolutely.
But in a company with tons of data,
Yeah.
who's actually calling the shots?
This is where we get into the roles of data owner, data custodian, and data user.
Okay, a lot of roles.
Think of it as a three-legged stool.
Three-legged stool.
You've got the data owner, usually a high-level manager,
Right.
who sets the classification and access policies.
Okay.
They're ultimately accountable for the data's protection.
So they're like the king or queen of that data set.
You could say that. Then you've got the data custodian,
Mm-hmm.
often someone from IT.
Okay.
They're the hands-on folks who implement security controls,
Right.
make sure backups are happening,
Oh.
and manage permissions. Basically, they're keeping the data safe and sound on a daily basis.
So they're like the royal guard, making sure no one storms the castle and steals the crown jewels.
Exactly. And finally, you have the data user,
Okay.
the person actually accessing and working with the data.
Right.
They have a responsibility to handle it according to the rules set by the owner
Mm-hmm.
and report any suspicious activity.
Got it.
Yeah.
So even if you're just an employee using data for your job,
Right.
you've got a role to play in keeping it secure.
Absolutely. Everyone in an organization has a responsibility when it comes to asset security.
Okay.
It's not just about the IT department or the security team.
Gotcha.
Everyone.
So we've talked about classifying data And assigning ownership.
Yes.
But how do we actually keep track of all this information? It seems like things could get messy quickly,
It can.
especially in a large organization with tons of digital assets.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's why having a solid asset inventory process is crucial.
Asset inventory.
This means identifying all your key assets, hardware, software, data, even those sticky notes with passwords on them,
Oh, wow, even those.
and documenting everything about them.
Okay, so it's like taking inventory of all your valuables, but for data and technology.
Precisely.
Okay.
And you need to record all the important details.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
type of asset it is,
Okay,
where it's located,
right.
who owns it,
Got it.
its classification level,
Mm-hmm.
what it's used for,
Okay.
and what other systems it depends on.
Oh, wow, so it gets pretty detailed.
Think of it like a detailed profile for each asset.
I like that.
Yeah.
This all makes sense in theory,
Sure.
but can you give me a real-world example of how an asset inventory might work in practice?
Let's say a company acquires a new server.
Okay.
As part of the asset inventory process,
Mm-hmm.
they would assign it a unique ID, document its technical specifications,
Got it.
note its location in the data center, specify the data owner,
Okay.
and perhaps even list the applications it will host and the data it will store.
Okay, so we're really getting granular here.
This helps in managing the asset throughout its life cycle.
Okay, so we've tagged and bagged our assets,
Yeah,
but isn't there more to it than just creating a list and calling it a day?
there is.
What about managing these assets throughout their lifespan?
Right.
Things get old, they break down, they become obsolete.
That's true.
How do we factor that into the equation?
That's where asset lifecycle management comes into play.
Asset lifecycle management.
And it's a critical concept for the CISSP exam.
Got it.
It means you have a plan for how you acquire, use, maintain,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually retire your assets securely and responsibly.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of situation.
Definitely not.
Okay, good to know.
Take that new server example.
Right.
You don't just plug it in and walk away.
Right.
You need to configure it securely,
Okay.
patch it regularly,
Uh-huh.
monitor its performance,
Mm-hmm.
and have a plan for what happens when it reaches the end of its useful life.
Okay, so like what?
Do you decommission it, repurpose it, destroy it?
Oh, yeah, good point.
Each stage needs careful consideration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like asset lifecycle management is all about being proactive and thinking ahead.
Exactly.
I like it.
It's about minimizing risks, optimizing performance,
Okay.
and ensuring your assets are serving their intended purpose securely and efficiently throughout their entire lifespan.
Okay, we've covered data classification, asset ownership, and lifecycle management.
We have.
What about privacy?
Ah, yes, privacy.
Where does that fit into the whole asset security picture?
Big question.
Especially since we're all about CISSP prep here.
Privacy is huge EE,
Okay.
and it's becoming even more important as regulations like GDPR and CCPA come into play. We're
Yeah.
not just protecting data from hackers,
No.
we're protecting individuals' rights and expectations when it comes to their personal information.
So it's not just about keeping data secure, it's about respecting people's privacy.
Exactly.
Got it.
And the best way to do that is to bake privacy by design into everything you do.
Privacy by design.
This means thinking about privacy from the very beginning of a project,
Okay.
not as an afterthought.
I see.
It's a key principle that the CISSP exam emphasizes.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Good.
Can you give me a real-world example of what privacy by design looks like in action?
Imagine a company developing a new mobile app.
Okay.
A privacy-conscious approach would involve minimizing the data collected,
Okay.
giving users control over their data,
Mm-hmm.
and being transparent about how the data is used.
Right.
They might even build in features like anonymization or pseudonymization to further protect user privacy.
So it's all about being upfront with users and giving them choices.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that approach.
And this mindset should be applied to every stage of data handling,
Right.
from collection and processing to storage and eventual disposal.
So it's like thinking about the whole life cycle of the data. Okay, I can see how that aligns with the whole CISSP emphasis on risk management and ethical practices.
It does.
But how do we actually put this into practice?
Yeah, good question.
Are there specific tools or techniques we can use to enforce privacy controls?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A common approach is to use a framework that covers different stages of data handling.
Okay.
During data collection,
Yeah.
you'd focus on getting explicit consent minimizing the data collected,
Right.
and being clear about the purpose
Right.
for data processing.
Mm-hmm.
You might use techniques like encryption or anonymization to protect the data.
Okay.
And when it comes to data sharing,
Yeah.
you'd ensure you have proper agreements in place and secure data transfer mechanisms.
So it's like a multi-layered approach to privacy,
It is.
just like we talked about with security in general.
Precisely.
Oh.
And these concepts are all interconnected.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
The CISSP exam tests your ability to see the big picture and understand how different elements of security and privacy work together.
Okay, my brain is definitely getting a workout.
Yeah.
Let's take a breath
Aha.
and come back after a quick break to tackle the next big topic in asset security,
Right.
data retention and destruction.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more CISSP insights.
See you soon.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, CISSP Warriors. Before the break,
Mm-hmm.
we laid the groundwork for asset security,
Yeah.
focusing on protecting valuable data.
Right.
But what happens when it's time to say goodbye to that data?
That's a good question.
That's where data retention and destruction come in,
Oh,
and it's more important than you might think,
Really?
especially for the CISSP exam.
Okay. I have to admit,
Yeah,
my digital hoarding tendencies make me want to keep everything forever.
I understand.
But I know that's not realistic or even safe.
Right,
So help me understand,
sure.
when is it okay to let go?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we do it without causing a security nightmare?
It's a delicate balancing act.
Okay. You have legal requirements, like HIPAA for healthcare records or SOX for financial data.
Right.
That mandates specific retention periods,
So those are non-negotiable.
pretty much.
Then there are business needs.
Yeah.
A construction company might need to keep project blueprints for years,
Mm-hmm.
even after the building is finished,
Yeah.
just in case of liability issues down the road.
Exactly.
So you're saying there's no magic delete all button we can press.
Not quite.
Okay.
The key is to have a documented data retention policy
Mm-hmm.
that aligns with legal obligations,
Okay.
business needs,
Right.
and minimizes security risks.
So it's a balancing act.
It is.
You need to know what you have,
Mm-hmm.
what you need to keep,
Mm-hmm.
and for how long.
That's it.
All right, so we've held on to our data for the required time.
Okay.
Now it's time to make it disappear.
Time for the fun part.
But hitting delete doesn't actually make it vanish, does it?
That's where things get interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
There's a whole science to secure data destruction.
A whole science.
And the CISSP exam loves to test your knowledge here.
Oh, great. Just what I wanted to hear.
Think about those old hard drives.
Yeah.
Simply deleting files doesn't mean the data is gone.
Really?
Someone with the right tools could potentially recover it.
Okay, it's starting to sweat a little now. So how do we actually erase data so it's gone for good?
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking about hammers and bonfires?
For physical media,
Yeah,
you might use degaussing,
degaussing.
which basically scrambles the magnetic fields on a hard drive,
Okay.
or physical destruction,
All right.
where you literally shred or crush the device.
Satisfying.
No chance of recovering anything from a pile of metal confetti.
I like the sound of that.
Right.
Okay, that takes care of the physical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What about digital data?
Yeah,
Is there a way to digitally shred files?
absolutely.
Tell me.
There are data wiping techniques
Okay.
that overwrite the data multiple times with random characters,
Oh, wow.
making it virtually impossible to reconstruct.
So you're saying it's really gone?
Pretty much.
It's like scribbling over your secret notes until they're just a jumbled mess of ink?
Exactly.
I like that analogy.
So it's not just about deleting.
Right.
It's about obliterating any trace of that data.
Wow, I'm starting to feel like a digital hitman here.
Ha ha ha. I can see that.
But seriously, this highlights why data destruction is a key part of asset security.
Absolutely.
It's about protecting against those lingering threats even after we think the data's gone.
Exactly. And remember, this all ties back to our earlier discussions about data classification and asset ownership.
Oh, right.
The more sensitive the data,
Uh-huh.
the more stringent the destruction methods need to be.
Makes sense.
And someone needs to be accountable for making sure it happens properly.
Good point. So we can't just set it and forget it.
Nope, not with this stuff.
All right, my brain is officially full of data destruction methods.
Huh.
Can we shift gears for a bit
Sure.
and talk about something a little less,
Destructive.
of course,
Okay.
Let's move from the end of the data lifecycle
Okay.
back to the beginning.
Like to get...
Data acquisition.
Okay.
Specifically, let's discuss how to incorporate security into the process of bringing new assets into your organization.
All right. So like when we're buying new stuff...
This is another area the CISSP exam often focuses on.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. I'm all about proactive security.
Me too.
So what are the key things we need to think about when acquiring new assets?
Yeah.
Whether it's hardware, software,
Right.
or even cloud services.
Security should be baked into the entire process.
Okay, so from the very beginning.
From identifying the need
Uh-huh.
to evaluating vendors and negotiating contracts.
Got it.
Imagine you're a company looking to purchase a new customer relationship management system.
CRM.
You wouldn't just go with the cheapest or flashiest option, right?
Not if I want to keep my job.
Exactly.
So what should we be looking for?
You'd start by clearly defining your security requirements.
Okay. What kind of data will be stored in the CRM?
Right.
What level of access control do you need?
Right.
What are your compliance obligations?
Good point.
Then you'd evaluate potential vendors based on their security posture.
Their security posture.
Do they have a good track record?
Uh-huh.
Are their systems compliant with relevant standards?
So it's like checking their security credentials before you swipe right.
Exactly.
Got it.
You wouldn't trust your data to just anyone.
Yeah, that's fair.
And don't forget to negotiate security clauses into your contracts.
Contracts.
You need to have clear expectations and remedies in case something goes wrong.
Right, because things do go wrong.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, so we found a vendor we trust,
Right.
signed the contract, and the shiny new CRM system arrives.
There it is.
What happens next?
What do you think?
Do we just plug it in and cross our fingers?
Not so fast.
Oh, no.
Before you deploy any new asset,
Okay.
you need to ensure it's configured securely.
Okay, what does that mean?
This might involve hardening the operating system,
Oh.
disabling unnecessary services, configuring firewalls,
Right.
and setting up strong passwords.
So a lot of prep work.
Yeah, it's like giving your new asset a security makeover
Oh, I like that.
before you let it out into the world.
I like that.
And once it's deployed, the work doesn't stop.
Oh, no.
You need to monitor it for vulnerabilities,
Okay.
patch it regularly,
Uh-huh.
and have a plan for incident response in case something does go wrong.
All right. Starting to see the bigger picture here.
Good.
It's not just about the initial acquisition. No. It's about ongoing management and vigilance throughout the asset's lifespan.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this brings us back to the concept of asset lifecycle management,
Oh, right.
which is all about taking a holistic view of asset security from cradle to grave.
Cradle to grave. I like that.
Speaking of life cycles,
Yeah.
our time for this segment is coming to an end.
Okay.
But before we go,
Yeah.
can we bridge the gap
Bridge the gap.
between all this technical stuff
Yeah.
and the human element?
The human element.
Because at the end of the day, security is all about people, right?
That's a good point. You are so right.
Technical controls and policies are important, but they're only as effective as the people who implement and follow them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why security awareness training is crucial.
Okay.
And it's a topic that frequently pops up on the CISSP exam.
All right. Good to know. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What makes security awareness training so important? And what should it cover?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Humans are often the weakest link in the security chain.
Oh, that's depressing.
We fall for phishing scams,
I've been there.
use weak passwords,
Guilty.
leave our devices unlocked,
Ooh.
and sometimes even inadvertently share confidential information.
Oh, yeah, I've done that too.
Security awareness training aims to educate employees about these risks
Okay.
and empower them to make safer choices.
So it's not just about scaring them with tales of data breaches.
No, not just that.
It's about giving them the tools to protect themselves in the organization.
Exactly.
I like that approach.
Effective security awareness training should cover things like
Like what?
recognizing phishing attempts,
Okay.
creating strong passwords,
Right.
understanding data classification policies, and reporting suspicious activity.
So being proactive.
Yes.
Okay, so we're arming our employees with knowledge
Yeah,
and making them our first line of defense.
precisely.
That's a great takeaway.
I think so too.
But before we dive deeper into the world of security awareness training,
Yeah.
let's take a quick break.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned, CISSP hopefuls.
We'll be right back.
There's more to come in our asset security deep dive.
Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're in the final stretch of our asset security marathon, and I'm feeling pumped to tackle these last few miles of CISSP knowledge.
That's the spirit. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From classifying data to destroying it securely.
It's been a journey.
Now let's shift gears and explore some advanced concepts that'll really give you an edge on the CISSP exam.
Bring it on. I'm ready to level up my asset security game.
All right, let's talk about data sovereignty.
Data sovereignty.
This is a hot topic in today's globalized world.
Okay.
And it's something the CISSP exam definitely touches on.
All right, I'm listening.
It boils down to this,
Yeah.
where your data is physically stored matters.
Okay.
A lot?
Okay, I'm intrigued, but also a little confused.
Sure.
Can you break it down for me?
Of course.
Why is the location of data so important from a security perspective?
Because different countries have different laws and regulations about data privacy and protection.
Oh, right.
Imagine you're a US-based company storing customer data in a data center in Europe.
Okay, yeah.
That data is now subject to European laws like GDPR,
GDPR.
which are generally much stricter than US laws.
So even if I'm following U.S. regulations,
Mm-hmm.
I could still run into trouble if my data is hanging out on a server in another country.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
That's why data sovereignty is such a big deal.
I see that.
Companies need to be strategic about where they store their data
Right.
and ensure they're complying with all applicable laws and regulations.
That sounds like a logistical nightmare for multinational companies.
It can be, but there are ways to manage it.
Okay.
Some companies choose to store data in multiple regions,
Okay.
keeping European data in Europe,
Right.
US data in the
All right,
US,
you got it.
and so on.
Okay.
Others rely on cloud providers that offer data residency guarantees,
Data residency guarantees.
meaning they promise to keep your data within specific geographic boundaries.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it's all about understanding the rules of the road
Right.
and making sure your data is parked in the right spot.
Data parking. I like that analogy.
Data sovereignty is a complex topic,
Yeah, it sounds like it.
but it's essential for anyone dealing with sensitive information in a globalized world.
Okay.
And it's definitely something the CISSP exam will grill you on.
Okay. Data sovereignty check.
Mm-hmm.
What other advanced asset security tricks do you have up your sleeve?
Let's talk about data masking and tokenization.
Data mask.
And tokenization.
So organization, okay.
These are techniques used to protect sensitive data
Okay.
by replacing it with something else,
Replacing it.
making it less appealing to hackers and snoopers.
So it's like putting a disguise on your data.
Exactly.
I like that.
With data masking, you replace sensitive data with realistic but fake data.
Okay.
It's like creating a decoy version of your database.
A decoy database.
Think about a software developer testing a new application.
Okay.
They need realistic data to work with, but
Yeah.
you don't want to give them access to real customer information.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So data masking lets them play in a sandbox without risking a real data breach.
Oh, that's a good analogy. I like that.
Precisely. No, tokenization is a bit different.
Okay, how so?
Instead of creating fake data,
Right.
you replace sensitive information with a randomly generated token.
A token.
It's like giving someone a voucher
Okay.
that can be exchanged for the real thing,
Right.
but only under very specific conditions.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could be useful.
Good.
Can you give me a real-world example?
Imagine you're processing credit card payments online.
Okay.
Instead of storing the actual credit card numbers in your database,
Right.
you tokenize them.
Okay.
So even if your database is compromised,
Yeah.
the attackers only get the tokens, not the actual sensitive data.
Clever. It's like swapping the crown jewels for a cheap replica.
Uh-huh. I like it.
Thieves might steal the replica, but the real treasure is still safe.
Exactly. Both data masking and tokenization are powerful tools for protecting sensitive information, while still allowing it to be used for legitimate purposes.
I see. That's clever.
And they're concepts that often pop up on the CISSP exam.
Okay, my head is spinning with all these data protection techniques.
I bet.
Can we shift gears for a moment and talk about how to spot when things go wrong?
Sure.
Because, let's face it, no security system is perfect.
That's true.
And breaches happen.
You're absolutely right.
So we have to be prepared.
That's why incident response is a crucial part of asset security.
Incident response.
And it's a major domain in the CISSP exam.
Okay.
It's all about having a plan for
Yeah.
when, not if, a security incident occurs.
Okay, so it's like having a fire drill for your data.
Exactly.
I can see that.
A good incident response plan outlines the steps to take in case of a breach.
Okay, what kind of steps?
It includes things like identifying the scope of the incident,
Okay.
containing the damage,
Right.
gathering evidence,
Got it.
notifying relevant parties,
Mm-hmm.
and recovering from the attack.
So it's not just about panicking and calling the IT guys.
Definitely not. It's about having a calm, coordinated approach
Right.
that minimizes the impact of the breach
Okay.
and helps you get back on your feet quickly.
This is starting to feel very real world and practical.
It is.
I like it.
And the CISSP exam tests your ability to think critically about incident response
Mm-hmm.
and apply those concepts to different scenarios.
Got it.
It's not just about memorizing facts.
No.
It's about understanding how to react effectively in a crisis.
All right. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for our aspiring CISSPs out there?
The CISSP exam is challenging,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely achievable.
Good.
Focus on understanding the core concepts,
Okay.
practice applying them to real-world situations,
Real world is key.
and don't be afraid to ask questions.
And never stop learning.
That's right.
The world of cybersecurity is constantly evolving.
It is.
So stay curious and keep those security skills sharp.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, dear listeners, it's time for us to power down our systems for today.
Until next time.
We hope this deep dive into asset security has equipped you with the knowledge and confidence to tackle those CISSP challenges head on.
You got this.
Until next time, stay secure out there.
Stay safe, everyone.